Hello, everyone. Welcome to this hangout, this interview. My name is Sandy Levesque, and your host today, interviewing Greg Kuhn, best-selling author of Why Quantum Physicists Do Not Fail, which has actually become one of my favorite books of 2014. I was going through and looking at all the books I'd read and picking out, the ones that really made an impact. And your book, Greg, was actually one of them because I just could not put it down when I was reading it, and I loved the way that you explained things that I think we see in different videos and interviews about quantum physics, but the way you explain it, it just really made sense to someone who does not study physics, someone who does not know the actual science of it, and you showed the difference between how we used to think of things and how quantum physicists now see things. So I'm really happy to have you here. Thank you for coming on this interview.
Well, thanks, Sandy. It's always awesome to get to talk to you. I know it's been a month or so since we had a chance to talk, and if people are just joining us for this interview for the first time, welcome. And hopefully you already know Sandy. Sandy Levesque is a really cool lady, and what she does is she shares her personal growth journey with lots and lots of people around the world, thanks to the cool miracle of the internet and our ability to connect across distances. And Sandy and I got connected through one of those connections, a gentleman by the name of Glenn Walker, if I'm not mistaken, who I had the pleasure to meet in person at a seminar I did in Nashville last month. And Sandy, Glenn, and I got to exchange a nice big hearty hug.
Aww.
And he also said, "Hey, I promised Sandy that I'd give you a hug for her." And so, okay, well, I gave him a hug for me, and so he had 2 hugs for you, Sandy, whenever he does get to meet you eventually. Or I guess if I get to meet you in person first, hug back to him and retain it, and then give it to you, okay?
That sounds good. Actually, it's funny you should mention that. I'm organizing the help of a friend. Well, actually, that's a good manipulation because she was organizing it and she's got me to help. So we're organizing a free hugs event here in Lisbon, Portugal, where I'm staying at the moment, on Valentine's Day in a couple of weeks' time. So I think hugs are really, really good.
Glenn, I was really interested in Glenn's feedback after the seminar because he is a physicist, and I've really enjoyed hearing from him and hearing his critiques and his feedback all the while. And when we hugged in person, I started to put my right ear next to his left ear, and he stopped me and he said, "No, wait a minute, if you put your left ear next to, I guess it was my right ear next to his right ear." Yeah, see, that would be hard to do, wouldn't it? Anyway, he stopped me and he said, "A better way to hug is to put left ears together, and then your hearts are coming into closer contact." So I'm remembering, Glenn, if you're watching this and listening to this, that is definitely struck a chord with me, and I haven't forgotten it. So thank you.
Oh yeah, he did tell me that, but I didn't quite understand it just as much as now I do. Yeah. So that's a good tip for you guys watching. Hug on the left side.
Right?
Yeah.
Or left, correct. We should say it like that.
Yeah, exactly. So what are we going to be talking about today, Greg?
Sandy, you were nice enough to humor me, and we were discussing what we might want to talk about. I love quantum physics. I know a lot of people love to hear about quantum physics. I like to learn about it and talk about it and write about it. My books, however, those of you who have read my books and who are reading my books, it's a bit of a misnomer to say my books are about quantum physics, in the sense that they're really more about new paradigm that quantum physics provides us. And just in case anyone's tempted now to click out of this hangout, I promise this is not boring. It's not.
You said the word paradigm.
Paradigm. What's a paradigm? A paradigm is all it is a fancy word for the reasons we do things the way we do them. And the reasons we do things now, I guess the really short version is this: the reasons that most of us do things the way we do them, or that we learn from our parents in school, from our government, from our leaders, from our churches, just from conventional wisdom, if you will. Almost all of those paradigms came from Newtonian physics, which is a great science, okay? And it really does a great job of explaining the way material reality operates in this time space that we're occupying right now. However, those paradigms have a great deal of limitations to them, just as Newtonian physics has a great deal of limitations, meaning quantum physics is a much more accurate description of material reality, and the paradigms from quantum physics are much more effective at helping us do things that we really want to do. And I would like to ask you, Sandy, and anyone who's watching and listening, to think about the answer to this question. There's no, by the way, this question doesn't have one right answer for sure, okay? But there is one answer I'm thinking of, but there are many answers that we could give to answer this question. I would pose this question to all our listeners, to all our watchers, and to you, Sandy, just interested in your feedback. What is the one thing that every human spends? What's the one reason behind almost anything or everything that any human being does? What's the one reason we even get out of bed every day? What is it we're always trying to do? What's your response to that? I mean, I know there's a 1,000 different responses to that. I'm just curious what your response to that is.
I get survival, or to survive, just to keep staying alive. At the very minimum.
Cannot disagree with that. And Sandy, by the way, people that are watching, Sandy told me before we started recording, she does not have her central heat in her home. It's a little chilly there. So, Sandy, hopefully you will survive.
I know. You can tell where my mind is at.
Well, your answer, survive. And one of the cool things that Newtonian paradigms allowed us to do, certainly in the Western world, if not the entire world, is to advance our society beyond the mere act of surviving and into, if you will, thriving. For most of us, we all want to influence our material experiences, and I guess that's my answer to that question. And don't get me wrong, this isn't a schoolroom where there's only one right answer. But do you, if I say it this way, every single thing we do in an attempt to influence our material experiences, our experiences with material reality. For example, Sandy, did you brush your teeth today?
I did, several times.
As did I. And there you go. There's a perfect example. Why would we brush our teeth? We're trying to influence our material experiences, right? We don't want to get cavities. We don't want to offend people with bad breath. We don't want to have teeth that are off-putting or in some way inhibit the things we want to do in life, right? And also we were taught that it was the right thing to do for our health and our longevity. That's an attempt to influence our material experiences. So what these paradigms end up doing, some people call them the law of attraction, or they call the activity of influencing our material experiences, they refer to it as a label, the law of attraction. And that's awesome. I think it's fun to have fun. I think it's important to have fun. And if it's fun to call it the law of attraction, then hey, absolutely, there's no reason not to. I'll also say, though, that in some respects, influencing our material experiences does not have to be thought of as a metaphysical or new age activity. Yeah. It's about common and pedestrian in a certain manner of looking at it. It's about anything we do. Every single one of us does it all the time. So what my books wind up being about, they wind up being about new ways that we can influence our material experiences in a much more effective fashion, a much more usable fashion, a much more reliable fashion, even a more magical and fun fashion too. And can I tell you a quick story that illustrates one of these new paradigms?
Yes, go for it. I love stories.
I thought you would never ask. Thank you. So one of these paradigms, in the old Newtonian paradigm, there is an old Newtonian paradigm, and this will sound very familiar to everyone, okay? It's called the detached observer. Now, if think in a scientist's lab, a detached observer is, Sandy, if you're the scientist, you're going to conduct an experiment, and you're going to watch and observe that experiment from a detached, non-involved perspective, and you're going to record the data, right? You're not going to get involved in the experiment. You're just going to put different things, combine some different things together, see what happens. But you're moved from it, right? You're not involved in it. That's a detached observer. I mean, think of in a psychology or sociology
Yeah.
lab.
Actually, it makes me think of one of my one of my uncles is a research scientist in France, and he researches viruses. Like he's researching AIDS at the moment, and I know that he sees himself as a detached observer of what he's looking at in the lab.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
And what we have learned from quantum physics is there's actually no such thing as a detached observer. Now, in science, that concept of not having a detached observer might be a little easier to grasp. I will say that I mean, a detached observer, that paradigm is used throughout our lives. I mean, think about things. Here's an example, and we'll refer back to this at a later time. Hold on, I'm stepping outside. Okay, let me hold this up. You know what that is, right?
yeah, a
I
green.
want to come back to the. Yeah, this is awesome, right? I mean, this is money. This is cool stuff. And I want to come back to this and refer back to this, but just to illustrate, the detached observer paradigm says, you know what? Money is scarce. It's hard to come by. If you have a lot of it, you're probably greedy. You probably took advantage of somebody else. You're taking more than your fair share, right? But aren't those all characteristics that we're taught about money?
Definitely. Yeah, I know. I was taught
And
some.
so the detached observer paradigm says, hey, that's the way money is. I didn't make it that way. That's the way it is. In fact, I wish it were different. I wish it were abundant and easy to come by. That's the way I'd like it to be. And I'd only be too happy to have it be that way if it was, right? But it's not, right? The detached observer paradigm has us always, quote unquote, telling it like it is. I'm just telling it like it is, right? I'm just describing the way it is. That's the detached observer paradigm. So, ready for the story?
Go for it.
All right. I was at church last Sunday morning, and I go to a church, a Science of Mind church, which is based on the teachings of Ernest Holmes. Now, I'm not a Science of Mind practitioner. I just love this group of people. They're very positive, open-minded. I love hearing what they share. So I was there last Sunday, and Carolyn Miller, who's the Reverend, told us this story about a cowboy. Now, you're not from America, but you know what a cowboy is, right?
Yeah, I have. I'm a proud owner of cowboy boots.
There you go.
Real ones. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, this cowboy was a real cowboy, okay? And he came to Ernest Holmes' office one morning, and he had on like dusty, raggedy jeans and jean jacket and a big hat and a big bushy beard and mustache, and apparently he had tobacco stains all in his beard and mustache. A very atypical student for Ernest Holmes, apparently. But he said, I want to learn about the science of mind. So we started taking classes to learn about the science of mind under Ernest Holmes. Well, apparently he was he was strange to the point that the other students were a little wary of him, and he usually kept to himself. One morning, uh, by the way, they called him Sagebrush Sam. That became his name at headquarters. And Ernest Holmes apparently loved this guy, just really took to him. But the other students were a little wary of him. They thought he was a little strange, a little unusual. So Sagebrush Sam really kept to himself a lot, apparently. Well, one morning, a woman came in for class, and the only empty seat was next to Sagebrush Sam, so she went and sat down next to him. Well, she had this terrible head cold. I mean, coughing and sneezing and having trouble breathing, and Sam noticed this, and he leaned over to her and he said, even though he usually kept to himself, he said, "Ma'am, I noticed you have this really bad cold. I'm wondering, would you like me to heal you by speaking the word?" Well, in the science of mind practice, speaking the word means praying positively. You know, saying a prayer where you are thanking God for having already acquiesced to what you're, desiring. So the woman with the head cold, terrible head cold, said, "Okay, Sam, go ahead." And so he began to say the word. He began to pray positively for this woman's healing. Well, about a minute passed, and as soon as Sam got done, the woman looked up with excitement. She exclaimed, "My cold's gone. I've been healed. Oh my goodness!" Right? Well, Reverend Carolyn was telling the story Sunday morning, and I had this thought. That is an amazing story of incredible power. I mean, can you believe that the power demonstrated by that story? What a brilliant example of having beliefs aligned with desires. Now, I don't know about you, Sandy, or anyone else who's listening, but I want to have influence and power like that. How do you feel? Would you like to have influence and power like that?
Totally. Yeah. It's one of the I've actually experienced something like that, very similar. A few years ago, I had a really bad cold as well. It was like a chest cold, and it was so bad that my work asked me to stop coming in because my coughing was disturbing everyone, and they sent me to go and have an asthma test. And because I'd been coughing for weeks and weeks, I was really upset. I'd broken up with my first ever boyfriend, and one day one of my friends had just started doing Reiki energy healing, and I was
Huh?
very cynical about anything like that. No, it wasn't my thing at all. But I was desperate. I tried different medicines, nothing was shifting it, and I'd been to the doctor 4 times. So I went to her house, and she put her hands on me for 30 minutes, and her hands became really hot, like radiators.
Uh-huh.
And afterwards, I still remember to this day, I, I didn't have a cough anymore. It wasn't even like maybe there was a bit of an improvement. The cough had just gone. This cough that had been plaguing me for weeks. And I
Hmm.
went to my work the next day, and I honestly felt like this big cloud had just been taken off me. And I know that partly it was her beliefs that she could help me, which I kind of internalized, and it did help me.
Well, you know what? I'm glad you shared that story because that is a great segue. I want to make sure everybody listening knows that when I told that story and I talk about how inspired I was by that story, and I share my response to the power, illustrated by that story, I'm not talking about Sagebrush Sam. I'm talking about the woman who was healed.
Mm.
That's the power I'm referring to. That's the inspiration I'm referring to. That's the alignment and the authority that I ascribe to, that I want to emulate, and not Sagebrush Sam. Now, Sagebrush Sam obviously was powerful, The woman, however, the woman was just as powerful as Sagebrush Sam. The woman was just as aligned as Sagebrush Sam. I'll say this, I'll go one step further. She probably was more powerful than Sagebrush Sam because she had to allow Sagebrush Sam to be that valuable to her. And here's where this illustrates the new quantum paradigm, okay? And here's why this new paradigm is so cool. And the story shows us both of these things. The first thing is the story illustrates the new quantum paradigm of the involved observer. And that is really how the universe works. Meaning, the woman, through her observations and interactions with Sam, was creating the system, was creating the material experience every bit as much as Sam was. In fact, as I noted, maybe even more so than Sam was. And now here's the really cool thing about this paradigm. Once we begin, when we make a decision to start to adhere and apply our life to a new paradigm like the involved observer, I don't know about you, Sandy. I don't know if I ever want to become someone who can heal someone. It's not currently a desire of mine. I don't know if I'll ever become a healer in that way. It may not ever be necessary for me. It may not be possible for me. It might not be possible for you or anyone on this call, but I do know this. We can all be that woman, all of us. Any day we choose, we can all emulate that woman and intentionally join in and co-create a system. All of us encounter teachers and leaders and positive messages and experts, neighbors, friends. We are creating systems with people, places, and things every single day. And we can follow her example and allow those systems to become helpful, valuable parts of our lives that really bring about tangible change. So it's pretty exciting to me.
Yeah, and something that I've just been wondering as I'm listening to you share that, when did you tell us about the moment when you started to become interested in this, Greg, when you realized that understanding these principles, the non-detached observer, what was the turning point for you? When did you start to become interested in understanding how that works? Like, why happen?
That's a great question. Let me hold this back up, and I do want to illustrate this, have a little fun, and illustrate this with your assistance and your indulgence. I want to put this on trial. Okay, I want to give this $5 bill. I want to put this on trial for crimes against humanity. All right. Because, and this is where it started for me. I was about $1 million in debt, and I seemed to not be able to have any experiences with money other than painful, displeasing ones. No matter what I tried, and no matter how hard I tried, no matter what sort of directions I followed, the debt grew, the troubles grew, the income didn't grow. I mean, all these frustrating experiences with money. And when I learned about the involved observer, I realized, wait a minute, I am involved in this just by being aware of money, by observing money. I'm creating a system. I'm creating money, my version of money in my universe, and that version is very painful. So what the heck can I do about that? Because, when I was describing those Newtonian paradigms, as we all know, if money or anything else is painful and displeasing, our natural response is to say, well, I'm calling it painful and displeasing because it is, right? I mean, I'd love to call this awesome and abundant and friendly and easy, but it's not, Yeah. And, I've tried positive affirmations. I've tried telling myself looking in the mirror and repeating positive affirmations about displeasing stuff like that. But I never believed any of it because that's really not how it is. I'm just telling it like it is, right? And I got a million people that'll agree with me that money is not easy. It's hard and it's painful and it's scarce and it's hard to come by. You got to scratch and claw and grab and
Yeah.
hold on to it, with bare knuckles and white knuckle, hold on because it slips through your fingers. And the people that we see who have lots of it, well, gosh, they seem to be immoral, corrupt, greedy, manipulative, conniving,
Yeah. Not
materialistic.
good people.
These are characteristics about money that seem to be unavoidable. So how in the heck, if I'm creating the system that's creating my material experience, what the heck am I supposed to do about it if this system I keep creating is painful, displeasing, destructive?
Yeah.
Would you help me also by being a witness in a trial?
Oh, yes, I will. Okay.
I'll be an attorney. Okay, now my dog Sam is right over there. Here. Sam, see her down there? All right, she's going to be the judge.
Oh.
Okay, she was facing away from the camera.
Look at this one. He's having a nap again.
That is the hairiest dog I've ever seen.
Yeah. He's like a big yeti.
You know what? I don't care whether you have heat or not, that dog is not cold. I guarantee you.
I know, he's got the prime spot right in front of it.
So
Yeah.
I'm a quantum attorney, okay? And
Okay.
Sandy Levesque is my star witness in this trial, okay? And we'll fast forward to me calling you to the stand. And what we missed is, the judge introduced the trial. The judge said, "Hey, money, you're on trial, buddy. You're on trial for crimes against humanity. You're on trial for being scarce, hard to get, hard to hold on to,
The root of all evil.
Yeah, I mean, money is just, it's a nasty, difficult, scarce, and elusive. Those are the primary charges. Difficult, scarce, and elusive, right? All the while, of course, what makes it even worse is, money goes out of its way to be, to really, really tempt us and make us desire it so badly, right? So it's sort of, that's where it really becomes a crime against humanity, right? Because don't we all want more money, but yet here it is, difficult, scarce, and elusive, right? These are the characteristics of money. So, Sandy, I know that you have some very enlightened beliefs and attitudes about things to adopt, the way it is about money. All those things I just said. I'm going
Okay.
to ask you.
So I'll play
I'm sure
along.
you probably have had some challenging experiences with money if you're like the rest of us. Is that correct?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I self-financed my studies, so I still have student debts I'm paying off.
There you go. This is perfect. Okay, so while we're doing this trial, while we're role playing, think about the times where it's a little frustrating to have debt and to see that debt and to think about paying off that debt.
Yeah.
I know I'm sure it is sometimes frustrating. All right, so the judge has said, so you can call your first witness, and I say, Your Honor, I call my first and only witness, and that is Sandy Levesque. Sandy Levesque, do you agree to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Oh, wonderful. That's great. Okay. Sandy, do you agree that money is guilty of being an evil and corrupting temptress? Do you agree that money may very well be the root of all evil? Do you agree that money is universally desired while simultaneously being cruelly difficult to acquire and hold on to?
I absolutely do.
And I
I
see that
hate
you're looking.
money.
Thank you. Thank you. I see that you're looking very angrily at this money. I wanna ask a question. Yeah, I see that. Uh, Stan, um, many ways that I could describe you. Is it accurate to say that you are an observer and a perceiver?
Yes, it is. I'm an observer.
Yes. You observe and perceive things, correct?
Yeah. I do. Yes.
So while that may not be the nicest label to give you, calling you an observer and a perceiver is an accurate label for you as a human being, correct?
That's right, sir.
And for me as well, okay? I will introduce now to the court Exhibit A, okay? Now, let the court take note. Exhibit A, if you can see, is a plate. Wait, plate. Wait, my hands in front of the camera. Okay. Can you see Exhibit A is broccoli and asparagus? Okay, a plate of broccoli and asparagus. This is Exhibit A, Sandy. Okay.
Yeah.
Um,
That's
please.
that's a horrible looking exhibit.
Well, you've answered my question. Thank you. And I just want to clarify. Court. Please tell me, Sandy, what is your reaction to this food? What is your reaction to this plate of asparagus and broccoli?
Well, I'll stay in character and I'll say it's damn disgusting.
Aha. Okay. I like that. But can I share something with you?
Yes.
I absolutely love broccoli and asparagus. What do you think about that? What do you think about me that I love
Chomping
broccoli?
away on the
You what?
chomping away on the broccoli. I think that's insane.
Because you don't like it, right?
I don't like it. No, I'm trying to be American.
So,
I'll be
so
a.
can I of this?
Can you
I can
what?
have your share of. I can
Oh
have your
yes, you
share.
can.
I can
Go
have
for it.
your.
Help
Okay.
yourself.
So let me clarify this. Okay. Is it correct to say that when I observe and perceive this plate of broccoli and asparagus, my observation and perception is that they are good, right? Or put another way, when I observe and perceive broccoli and asparagus, the outcome of my observation and perception is delicious. You agree with that?
Yes, you love it. Yeah.
I love it. And for you, Sandy, this plate of food is yucky. When you observe and
Yeah.
perceive it, you observe and perceive yucky,
Yeah,
correct?
exactly. It's like thumbs down.
Yeah, big thumbs down. And I get that. So, for you, this plate of food is yucky. For me, this plate of food is delicious. Yet, let's clarify something else. Both observing and perceiving the same exact plate of food, correct?
We are, yeah.
Okay. Yet our outcome couldn't be more different, correct?
Yeah.
All right. So, here's my question. Sandy, who is right? You or me? Is the broccoli and asparagus yucky? Are you right? And I'm wrong? Or is the broccoli and asparagus delicious? Are you wrong and I'm right? What's the answer to that question?
Well, I would say that there isn't a right answer and it's just different interpretations, different opinions.
Okay,
But I'm interested to know what you would say.
different opinions. Okay, so I want to make sure that I understand you. What you're saying is we each have our own opinion about food. We each have our own opinion about what food is yucky and is delicious, and everyone has their own opinions, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so and you tell me if I'm wrong here. That means that broccoli and asparagus are not awaiting your discovery or my discovery of them in a predetermined state of delicious or yucky. What you're saying is that each of us gets to decide. as we observe and perceive broccoli and asparagus, whether it is delicious or yucky. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's like they're neutral, and the way we think about them is almost like taking a color. You know, either you color it red or you color it blue. You know, you pick the way that you want to see it.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better myself. So let me ask a follow-up question. Can we truly say, truly, that the broccoli and asparagus themselves are inherently yucky or delicious, given that we've already agreed that the two of us can have different outcomes and both be right? Can we really say that broccoli and asparagus await your observation and perception of them in a predetermined state of yucky or delicious? Can we say that?
No, they're neutral.
Absolutely. Thank you. So, please tell me this. Where then does the yucky or delicious come from? If not from the food itself, where does it come from?
From our interpretation of a sensation. You know, when someone bites into broccoli, it either tastes really nice and crunchy and green and goodness, or it tastes of mushy, watery stuff that doesn't have any taste to it.
I think you just described delicious and yucky, right?
Yeah.
And so we have tastes, we have preferences, and we have opinions, right? Let me ask you this. Is there a rule which states that when you observe and perceive broccoli and asparagus, you must call them yucky? Or a rule which states that you must call them delicious?
No, no, it's personal choice.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I get it that you really hate broccoli and asparagus. I get that. But let's play with this for a minute. Just hypothetically, okay? Hypothetically. Hypothetically, if I gave you a lot of compelling information about broccoli and asparagus, if I prepared them in some different ways, and hypothetically, if you had an intention to learn to appreciate them, hypothetically, could you learn to have a different, better experience when you observe and perceive broccoli and asparagus? Is that possible?
It is possible. I once had a cousin who he refused to eat any food that wasn't white or beige. So he would only eat potato, um, pasta, rice. He
Yeah.
literally only ate carbohydrates until he was about 4, and we were quite worried about him. And today he eats all kinds of stuff, so it's definitely possible.
Broccoli, right? What do you want to learn to? Do you want to learn to like these? Call them delicious?
Oh, well, I actually do really like broccoli. I was just playing along, but yeah, I'll pretend that I don't. Yeah, I
See,
do.
oh, no, well, you don't have to if you don't want to. I'll say that. I mean, okay, so don't worry. I'm not going to ask you, to go on record and say that you will.
The green
But
police are gonna come and get me.
thing is the green police. So let me say this. While it might not matter one single bit what you call broccoli and asparagus when you observe and perceive it, I mean, you're a grown woman. You're allowed to call broccoli and asparagus yucky if you want to. Not going to ruin your life, not going to end your life, right? Can you agree, though, that there might be some things that you are currently labeling bad or yucky when you observe and perceive them, that it would benefit you to learn to call good?
Definitely, yeah, because it's the way that we think about things completely influences how we experience them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Let's play with an example. What if we were both 10-year-old children going to school, and you as a 10-year-old observe and perceive school as good. Uh, that school perceive school and it's bad. Okay, so do you think it would benefit me if I could learn to perceive and to observe and perceive school and call it good?
Definitely. Yeah, it's like with recently I've been switching my schedule to be up earlier. I've been a night owl for many years,
Hmm.
and I decided that this year I was going to change that. I've been wanting to for a long time, and it's amazing. It's changed within 2 weeks. Like I was up at 5 a.m. this morning, and I'll be up at 5 a.m. tomorrow, even if we go on quite late. um, and it's amazing to notice that inside my something has shifted in the way that I view getting up early. I used to think of it as a horrible, difficult, treacherous, torturous thing that why would you inflict that on yourself? Life is too short. And now it's got me really excited about everything and I'm really enjoying it. So the way that we see things, it can completely flip 180 degrees.
So you're illustrating for us the power and the benefit of learning to observe and perceive something that you used to call bad and transitioning to calling it good, correct? That's a beneficial activity. When the intention is there, when the desire is there to have a different type of experience, correct?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. Well, I want to go back to money, all right? Um, you agreed that money um, was evil and scarce and corrupting and greed-inducing. Isn't it that correct? Back at the beginning of this trial.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So I want to ask you, given everything that we said before, do you believe that those are the inherent qualities of money? Is that the way money is? Can you really say that anymore?
I'd be hard pressed to say that because I'd have to realize that money's just a neutral thing. You know, it's not got any colors on it, and I'm adding them. But I would say, what do you do if that's been such a big part of how you see money that it seems like you'll never change it? What would you say to that?
Good question. Because Sandy, when I observe and perceive money, I'm not only excited by it, it's my friend. It is not elusive. It is not scarce. It is wonderful. And having more of it does not make someone greedy. And in fact, money's so abundant, when I or anyone else experiences more of that abundance, we're not taking it from anyone else. We're not greedily grabbing more than our fair share of the pie because money truly is abundant and it wants us to possess it. It's not difficult to create, it's not difficult to enjoy, and it's not difficult to possess in any way, shape, or form. Now, that really differs with what money's on trial for, is it? Doesn't it?
Well, yeah, it's the complete opposite.
It is.
You,
So I
yeah.
just one more time. Uh, who is? Am I wrong about money, or is the rest of society right, or is the rest of the society right, but I'm wrong, given what we've already established?
Well, I would say no one's right or wrong. It's just differences of it's like decide choosing to look at something in one way. I don't think there's any one good way, one right way.
Because ultimately, who who decides what the characteristics of money are? Is it the money itself? Does it come to us in a predetermined state? Who is it that decides whether money is good or bad or anything in between?
It's us. Oh, I think my connection is going.
I've got you back.
Okay. Yeah. So, Greg, how did you go from
So it's
having that point of view once you realized that you were not an unattached observer? Like, what was there one big turning point? Like, what happened to make you start to go from being that person that's like, yeah, it's icky, it creates all these problems in my life to, yeah, I like it, it's good, it's my friend. I think that's what people
yep,
would be asking. I'm sensing people's questions.
absolutely. Before we answer that, we agree that money should be cleared of these charges, correct?
I do, yeah. You
Okay.
win the court case.
As long as we're on the same page. Now that's the good news, okay? The way to begin that movement is to, well, I'm going to say in a nutshell, is to play Grow a Greater You, the game that I teach. What I'm going to say is this. The primary, I believe, the most important thing is to realize there's two parts to this. To realize that new paradigm, right? My material experiences, whether they're of money, uh, my partner, my job, my home, my children, my pet, my car, my groceries, my front yard, my neighbors, my president, whatever the case may be, my material experiences are always reflections of my beliefs. I am the one who is imbuing that material experience with every characteristic that I'm experiencing.
Oh,
Still,
uh, Greg, are you there?